not gonna lie to you, before we even get into this video, bro, no, this is not like, I just took my hair out, and my aunt, she put gel in it when she did it, you know what I'm saying? So yes, we got that out the way. And second, not even on them type of nerd stuff, who's gonna be reacting to this, bro? Because we already know Boruto's stronger than Naruto. Haters gonna hate, but let him hate. You know what I'm saying?
When Boruto suddenly appeared in front of him and Sarada, Code immediately said that he'd been looking for the missing ninja, but didn't expect him to come out so easily. It was clear that he should have tried this a long time ago. This was the first time Boruto had been home in years, but instead of being able to
4 years, actually,
overlook the entire village like his dad, he's got to deal with this. Boruto isn't some goofy kid anymore. This visit was all business. Speaking in a steady and resolute tone, he told Code to remove his monsters from the village. Every single one of them. But what he said next is worth remembering. While he still can. Boruto promised that if the Kara fanatic could do that, he would spare his life. And just like that, Boruto has officially become the coldest MC in the game. Part 1, we are watching a legend in the making. Part 2, we are watching a master at work. Boruto really took his father's Talk No Jutsu and perfected it. This is that Talk No More Jutsu. Boruto gives his target a chance to be civil, and if they refuse, then it's already over for them. Code eyed Boruto carefully. Sarada was stunned by his bold entrance and words. Code hit the rewind button and wanted to make sure that he had heard that correctly. Boruto clearly didn't stutter and just stared back at the invader. To really make sense of this, Code decides to rewind all the way back to part 1. He was pretty sure that 2 years ago, Boruto ran away from him and was totally helpless. Yet somehow, he was now telling the person he ran from that he would spare their life. I can't even blame Code for being confused. Boruto was relieved to see that Code still had working ears. If Code understood, he should just get on with it already. Otherwise, this time around, an eye wouldn't be the only thing he loses today. This man is so cold. Code still has no idea that he is being sacrificed for one of the hottest starts in modern manga. He was surprised to see Boruto bluffing this boldly. It was laughable, or so he thinks. Sarada kept staring for a while before calling out her former squad mate's name. Boruto didn't look at her. There were a lot of people that needed her help right now, so he told her to go handle that and leave Code to him. Sarada hesitated, but asked Boruto if he was alright. Still not.
Once everything's perfectly organized, I'll start working on my thesis.
Grammarly will ensure you feel confident nailing your final thesis by supporting your writing journey.
Not looking at her, Boruto told the Uchiha that they would talk more later. Right now, he just needed her to stay alive. Boruto not looking at Sarada is definitely suspicious. I think this might be why some people are speculating that Sauske somehow died over the time skip. I honestly don't believe that for a second, but at the very least, this being connected to Sauske sounds like a possibility. Sarada was still in awe of Boruto here. Elsewhere, the new Hokage's son, Shikadai, was activating the Shadow Possession Jutsu. This allowed him to lock down a total of 3 code monsters. Chocho was there to follow up with an attack. Obviously, the time skip designs of Boruto, Kawaki, and Sarada have stolen the show. But I do think that Chocho looks a lot cooler now. I like her new hairstyle and the fact that she's leaning more into the whole butterfly thing. Speaking of which, I think Ikemoto might have forgotten to draw them on the back of her cloak. Chocho's oversized fist slammed into one of the immobile creatures with tremendous force. And suddenly, the butterfly clips in her hair are missing. The future head of the Akamichi clan followed this up with a swift kick that knocked the monster back. And this time, Chocho has butterflies all over her cloak. Not really a big deal, but these sorts of visual oversights are usually pretty rare. And of course, Boruto is a monthly series, so you'd expect this to be even less likely. Himawari and Inojin remained in the air above. Himawari was impressed by Chocho's strength here. They had just recently been training against one another the chapter before. The difference between sparring and serious battle was clear. Chocho proudly proclaimed that all these creatures had were numbers. Individually, they weren't so tough. She is clearly jinxing herself here, but I like seeing her presented as strong. Hopefully all the butterflies mean that she's further advanced her clan's butterfly mode or made it more of her own. It was never in the manga, but she already has access to the technique in the anime. When they were trying to retrieve Sasuke at the end of Naruto Part 1, Shikamaru said that without a doubt, Choji was the strongest one of them. That's compared to himself, Kiba, Neji, and Naruto after seeing everything they were capable of during the Chunin exams. Kishimoto really liked giving Choji his moments to shine. Hell, you could argue that in Shippuden, he got even more of a spotlight than Rock Lee. Between these two first chapters, I get the feeling that this series might be doing something similar with his daughter, who Shikadai quickly noticed had a monster emerging behind her before she could land. As the monster opened its mouth wide as if to bite her, Shikadai cried out in alarm. Chocho had underestimated her target and didn't see this coming. Thankfully, Inojin interrupted the creature and had it lifted into the air. Now, Inojin's creature looks incredibly lifelike. What I mean by that is that it doesn't look like it was painted or drawn like his father's work. We know that Inojin was trained in artistic ninjutsu under Sai. Is he so good now that his creations look totally real? Hopefully this is actually intended and not just a lack of flair. He used to think that his dad's art style was a bit too old-fashioned and instead went for a more silly direction. Now this creature lacks the look of either, so maybe over the last few years, he has reimagined his style entirely. Chocho just looked up, realizing that she had been saved. Inojin poked fun at Chocho for letting down her guard. Chocho barked back, but thanked him for the save. Just then, the monster used its tail to destroy the bird's wing. Inojin struggled to maintain altitude as Himawari totally lost her grip and slipped off the side. Even at this deadly height, the monster tried its best to get a bite out of the youngest Uzumaki in mid-air. Inojin yelled out after her. Shikadai spun around and noticed something in the air that was moving towards them. It was Kawaki, rushing forward at breakneck speeds. He told them all to get out of his way. Inojin called out his name in recognition, while Himawari called him Big Bro, which is what she used to call Boruto. Inojin grabbed hold of Himawari to protect her. Kawaki, meanwhile, delivered a high-speed kick to the attacking monster. The monster slapped its tail onto the ground to lessen the momentum as it began to skid back. But here's where things get crazy. The monster faced them as the dust settled around it. Then, a single eye appeared on its face. And not just any eye, the Renegon. Now this is huge. Back when Code first created these things, he used the power of his claw marks to place his left eye on one of them. This was a demonstration of their potential as scouts, literally able to serve as his eyes and ears. That ended up being a bit of foreshadowing on account of the fact that Code lost that very same eye. But thanks to this new chapter, it turns out that this was double foreshadowing. This is the exact same monster as the one Code placed his eye on. And scratch that, this isn't double foreshadowing, it's triple.
Papa John's new garlic epic stuffed crust pizza.
In it, on it, with it.
Order now on the app.
Bro, I'm still. I don't know how to do reaction videos. Tiny is not watching.
Triple foreshadowing. That is someone else's eye. Someone is observing this event, and that someone possesses a Renegon. Kawaki landed next to the others. Himawari thanked Kawaki and again called him Big Bro. Kawaki callously told Himawari to stop calling him that. Apparently this was something he had told her many times by now. This left Himawari feeling conflicted. Ada's omnipotence was already a bit less effective on her, allowing her to sense these subtle contradictions, so this is only fuel for the fire. Shikadai realized that the monster they were facing was different from the others, superior even. So it's possible that instead of being the eyes of another unknown presence, this thing may be evolving on its own, gradually having a foreign consciousness uploaded into it. The Ten Tails is a notoriously mindless being hell-bent on consumption, so it's most likely some outside influence at work. It focused on them for a second. Then it swiftly leapt through one of its fallen brethren. It appeared behind Kawaki faster than the Universal Trader could react. The monster slammed Kawaki into the pavement, much to Shikadai's surprise. As the monster continued to choke him out, it actually began to speak. It struggled to say Otsutsuki, but miraculously did a better job than I did for years. But before it could go any further, it was restrained by Shikadai's shadows. It did its best to resist as Shikadai urged Kawaki to run before he lost control. Instead, Kawaki decided to activate his karma, then raised his hand to the creature's body. He really did not like being called an Otsutsuki. Kawaki used his power to annihilate the beast. The fallout was enough to make everyone have to protect themselves. But even with that being the case, there were more of these things. They continued to emerge from one another. They were not backing down at all. There seemed to be no end to them, and Shikedai wondered how many of them there really were. But as far as Kawaki was concerned, it didn't matter. He was going to put a stop to each and every one of them. And from there, we proceed to a man who's beyond just talking and is really about that action. Code looked at Boruto. Boruto kept his hand close to his belt and prepared to whoop the approaching menaces. He sharply moved his eye. One of the monsters finally made their move and launched itself towards him. Faster than any eyes could catch it, Boruto used his sword to slice into the creature. The top of the monster slid from the rest of its body like snow falls from the top of a tree. Code watched as its remains fell to the ground. Boruto remained incredibly calm as the tension rose. He kept holding his weapon as more monsters came close. They started running at him all at once, which Boruto anticipated perfectly. Boruto cut into each and every one of them. He severed their limbs with perfect finesse. His sword re-entered its scabbard as quickly as it left. This was light work for Naruto's real son now. Boruto is really him. Kawaki stole this man's entire life, and Boruto is still the man he wishes he was. Code just stood there. He hadn't intervened at all. Boruto returned his attention to the fanatic. It was now clear to Code that Boruto was not just bluffing. He understood that at the very least, Boruto was taking himself seriously, and Boruto was prepared to do the same to Code's entire army. But Code told the renegade not to get too far ahead of himself. He still had plenty more troops in reserve, and at the end of the day, they were all just tools for him anyways. Boruto just looked at Code. At this point, it's starting to feel like an RDC skit or something. This man Boruto just pulled up with swordsmanship beyond anything the 7 ninja swordsmen have ever produced. He didn't even have a sword last time, yet in these few years, he has already ascended to this unbelievable level. Code somehow thinks that he is leagues beyond. Meanwhile, it doesn't look like he's gained anything notable since we last saw him at the end of Boruto Part 1. Besides failing to realize his power, Boruto let Code know that the idiot still couldn't fathom the horrors of the Ten Tails. Code wasn't sure what Boruto was talking about. Elsewhere, one of the monsters was laid out on the ground. Sarada approached as she concluded her hand seals. While continuing forward, she unleashed a great fireball jutsu. This is of course a symbolic thing, as this jutsu is a representation of an Uchiha truly becoming an adult. I remember her using it during the Chunin exams, but this is definitely a more fitting moment. Using the smoke as cover, Sarada emerged on the other side with streaks of lightning trailing behind her. This of course was the Chidori, a very exciting move to see her use, but she's used it plenty of times. It's definitely cool, but not much of a grand showing of improvement. At least not overtly. But it was enough for her to lay 2 of them out. The shinobi near her were definitely impressed though, and even wondered if she was really just a genin. Apparently, the whole Boruto thing made her neglect the advancement of her rank, but I wonder how far she would have gotten otherwise. But since she compared herself to Jonin level when claiming that it didn't matter, we'll just go with that. But Sarada ran into the same problem as Chocho as one of these things emerged behind her back. Seeing this, one of the shinobi cried out while moving forward. Sarada was still oblivious and clearly needs to use her Sharingan. To save her, the shinobi jumped in the way of the attack. From there, all she could do was watch as he struggled to avoid being devoured. Things were not looking good, and they were about to get worse. The monster's body began to shift and contort. His victim tried to call out for help, but it was too late. Oddly enough, the monster had become a tree. And if there
Are you about to say something?
And if there is one thing that Naruto fans know, it's that trees are dangerous. First there was that really depressing tree with the swing on it that Naruto used to be on. Then you've got the obsession with using Hashirama cells to gain wood style. A tree killed Neji, and a tree made of the same stuff as this one nearly exterminated all life on the planet. So yeah, this is very bad. And all around, the same thing was happening. People were being held by these monsters as they turned into trees. She began questioning what was going on. I'm not sure if they ever talk about the 4th Great Shinobi War in the Academy or not, but that information might come in handy right about now. Code claimed to know all about the Ten Tails, namely that they eat Otsutsukis, creatures that seek to consume anyone on instinct until they find an Otsutsuki. Boruto admitted that normally that was the case, but not anymore. not since the transformation Code added. The tension was rising, and Boruto wasn't backing down. He told Code that there was still time to change things, that because Code has been in control of them, he should be able to destroy them all immediately. Otherwise, they would be headed for the worst future anyone can imagine. Now, when it comes to predicting the future, Momoshiki definitely comes to mind. Code didn't see the point of what Boruto was talking about. When the Ten Tails devours Hinotsuki, it takes root and becomes a divine tree. And thanks to that, it will be the end of the world. So this so-called worst future is actually his true objective. Boruto clearly envisioned something Code was unaware of, but instead of revealing that, he decided to give Code this one last chance. He was willing to let him live. In exchange, Code would lead him to where the real body of the Ten Tails is hidden, which I am so glad is finally being addressed. Code was tired of this nonsense and wondered if Boruto had lost his mind. Boruto decided to be blunt. Killing Code would be easy for him, so instead of dying in vain, he urged Code to do something for the world instead of wasting his life. And listen, if beating Code is child's play, then we must be looking at a Boruto who is stronger than both Naruto and Sauske combined. Code without his limiters is supposed to be even stronger than Jigen himself, an opponent that handled both Naruto and Sauske at the same time. Code still didn't believe Boruto and claimed that he would be the one to die. Boruto just looked at the fool and realized that there was no saving him. From there, wind began to swirl around one of his hands, which Code noticed. Boruto moved towards Code with great intensity. Code recognized this to be the Rasengan and wondered if Boruto thought he didn't know about it. Boruto continued forward. This isn't your father's Rasengan. This is Rasengan Uzuhiko. Boruto is cooking up something fierce. Instead of concentrating the chakra into a sphere in the palm of his hand, it looks as if the wind has begun to billow around him. Knowing that Sauske is his mentor, this could very well be a sort of highly advanced chakra-shaped manipulation, similar to Chidori's Sharp Spear or Chidori's Stream. But we can't forget that Boruto isn't just Naruto's son, he is also Hinata's. He is a Hyuga. Boruto obviously lacks the Byakugan, so the majority of the clan's techniques are lost to him. But even without the right eyes, he should still be able to release chakra from every chakra node on his body. It's the same reason he was able to use Gentle Fist in the past. Imagine if the Rasengan were to be combined with a Trigram's palm rotation and used offensively. The wait for more Boruto is so unbearable. I really wish this series was bi-weekly. The hype is real. There are still some people stuck in 2019 hating on Boruto, but all the real ones know that peak has returned. And I hope to return to the channel for plenty more. As always, I am Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching.
That's it. But yeah, for those who haven't subscribed, bro, don't forget to drop a subscribe, bro. And tell me what y'all think, bro. I will make a whole video dedicated to what y'all see in the comments if y'all do it. Debating like Boruto, bro, because like Boruto, I mess with Boruto personally. I ain't even gonna lie to you, but other than that, that's it. And don't forget to comment.